Hey, how's it going, everybody? Kramer back from spookypoker.com, and today I'm going to be giving you my 6 best tips for dealing with tilt. And these are strategies I use day to day. I used them yesterday, I used them last week when I was running really bad and just losing money left and right. And these will help get you through those horrible downswings and keep your mind, sane, and be able to keep playing poker and make money in the long run. So let's just get into it. I'm gonna give you six of my best tips, like I said. So the first tip is going to be a rather primitive one, and this is not one that I came up with by myself. When I first got into poker, I really looked up to the guys from 2 months 2 million, and they had the tilt room, so I have my own version of that, which is I go ahead and just smash my bed or my couch, depending on where I'm playing. I smash something that might be able to take a little bit of hitting, a little bit of damage. So, I'll just go over there and just beat the crap out of my bed sometimes. Even if you are wrong and you shouldn't be on tilt because you got it in bad, sometimes the feeling is just overwhelming. That's okay. Sometimes you just gotta let the anger out instead of trying to control it. And I don't necessarily advise that you try to keep it in sometimes. So it's totally fine to just go smash stuff. Just try not to damage anything. I've definitely smashed my desk, and I don't recommend doing that. I might have to get a new desk if I keep that up. So the second one, this one I think is actually my best tip, because I've never heard anyone say this, and I think it's just a very positive way to think about things, which is you use the mental framework. I'm gonna play good poker for X hours today or X hours this week, and the reason that's great is because what you do is, instead of focusing on the day-to-day sessions of am I making money today, am I losing money today, I really needed that money, instead of thinking like that, you think, well, poker is a long-term game. I'm focused on improving and always becoming better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my best poker game for the next 2 hours. That's my goal. My goal is not to make money, because oftentimes we can't control whether or not we make money, but we can control if we make our best decisions. And this is true for going up and down. If you're going up, you might start getting a little full of yourself. You're making a bunch of money really easily. You might start thinking that you're the best poker player ever. And hey, maybe you might be. But in case you're not, because I'm certainly not, I have to remember that the goal is to play good poker. The goal is not to make money, because the money will come in the long run. Number three is to take breaks often. Now, this is something I like to implement every 1 to 2 hours. I personally don't like these really long grinding sessions, and especially if you're playing in the lower stakes, there are always going to be games available. You have plenty of poker sites, you have plenty of action all over the place, and you really don't need to get too caught up in one single game. And for that reason, I like to take breaks, even if the games are decent, and I really do want to keep making more money. If I feel like I'm starting to lose my edge, I'm not engaged in the game anymore, maybe it's time to take a break, grab a drink, grab some food, and maybe watch a YouTube video or something. But I find that those really help me avoid tilt in either direction. I don't want to start playing too loose and happy, and I also don't want to be playing too pissed off and passive or loose or whatever. So the fourth tip is also very important. I think all of these are important, but this one is great. Don't play games that are too big for you to not care about the money. If you can't stop thinking about the money that you're losing, you're playing too big. Something that I will tell people who want to improve at poker is that you should be playing a game where you have no problem calling off 50 big blinds, half your stack, because you think someone is bluffing. But as soon as you stop being able to do that, you're just free rolling yourself against people who are willing to make big bluffs. Not to flex or something, but I actually ran a pretty sick bluff on someone because I know that he's just too scared to lose a whole stack. So we both got 40 big blinds in the middle, and I shoved the turn, and I knew he was going to fold just because he's playing games that he cares about the money too much, and that is something that you can be exploited for. And also, when you do inevitably lose big pots, you're just going to care about it too much, and it's going to put you on tilt. The next one is going to be if you play on sites like ACR that show how much you are winning or losing, then I recommend you look away and you really don't need to even acknowledge the numbers. And this certainly goes back into the tip number 2, which is like you don't think about winning or losing, you just think about playing good poker, and that's what I stand by that. And so, for example, when you play on ACR, that's America's Card Room if you're not familiar, you can, as soon as you close the window, it will oftentimes tell you, you're up this much, you're down this much. And, instead of like paying attention to that and letting myself get on tilt, especially if you're losing, I like to just completely look away. You can certainly avoid eye contact with those numbers, and I recommend you do that. As long as you know you're not losing buy-in after buy-in, you'll probably be able to stay within the games that you're playing. And yeah, sometimes you need to check it out. If you are losing, maybe you have to drop down in stakes and you have to check out your bankroll. But as long as you're like slightly winning or slightly losing or staying about even, I think it's fine to just like try to get through the bad times without looking at these numbers. So number 6, and once again, this does relate to number 2, but this is just one more tool in your toolbox. So instead of focusing on winning or losing, you simply focus on making good plays. So this is something I recently thought about, and it's a realization I only recently had, which is, winning and losing money in poker is kind of a binary thing. You either win or you lose, but within winning and losing, you can make a lot of really good and really bad plays. And it's those small plays throughout, flop, turn, pre-flop, river. All of these plays are what contribute to making a good poker player. But even if you make really good plays, that doesn't necessitate that you win pots. And so when I realized that, I realized, what you're trying to do as a poker player is to find these spots against these players. And even if you don't win pots, if you are making good plays consistently that are, plus EV, eventually you will win those pots, or you'll lose less than the average person. And these things are what, make you money. So, for example, if you're making plays that beat 90% of your opponent's range, but you keep running into their best hands, it doesn't mean you're a bad player. And I'm pretty much just giving myself therapy by saying this because, for example, like I remember one hand last week, I went all in with ace jack, top pair, top kicker, and I was trying to make it look like a bluff, and I was just trying to get a hero call. And of course I did get called, but it was by some guy who did not 3-bet queens. So it's like, that's the absolute top of his range, but I just value betted myself to death, and I lost money. But the thing is that if he calls there with any hand worse than that, then I just made money. If you run this simulation, several times through. So another thing is that you can oftentimes lose several flips in a row in a single session, and your equity, your EV on the day could just be like completely even, like no win, no loss, but you could actually just lose like 4 buy-ins, 5 buy-ins just because you lose 4 flips in a row. That doesn't make you a bad player. That's just variance, and everyone goes through it. So the last little tip within number 6 is, since we're focusing on making good plays, I want you to remember that a good poker player gets the money in good and makes advantageous bets that are plus EV. A good poker player does not win 100% of the time. And it's important to remember those things because we're all going to lose. So just because you keep losing does not make you a bad poker player, but if you are getting it in bad, you are a bad poker player. So just keep that in mind. Don't worry about the outcome. It's hard not to, especially when you're new and you don't have that much experience. But that is the best way to become a long-term profitable poker player. And that's what we're all about here. I want you guys to be able to consistently make money playing poker, enjoy the game, and get the most out of it. So that wraps up the video. Hopefully you guys have gotten some great tips. I'm just going to quickly run through them again. Number 1, you can smash your bed or your couch or create some sort of tilt room just like the guys in 2 Months 2 Million. Number 2, use the framework. I'm going to play good poker today for 2 hours, X amount of hours, instead of saying I'm going to try to win today. Number 3, take breaks often. I like to take breaks every 1 to 2 hours, and I recommend you guys do something like that, whatever you decide you like. Number 4, don't play games that are too big for you to not care about the money. Well, it's important to know that you are always going to lose money in poker at some point or another. And if you're playing games that you care too much about the money, it will just throw you on tilt and render you incapable of making good decisions. Number 5 is that if you are on a losing streak, you should avoid looking at your bankroll too much if you don't need to. Of course, you need to make sure that you have adequate buy-ins for a certain stake, but as long as you know that you do and you're on a losing streak, it's okay to avoid looking at your bankroll until you start winning again. And number 6 is I want you guys to focus on making good plays, and remember that a good poker player gets the money in good. Even if they don't win the pot, over the long run, they are making the right decision, and this will make you money in the long run. So that's it. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. And if you want to support the channel, you can, liking the video is a great way to do that. But you can also check below if you want to sign up for America's Card Room. If you go through my link, I would get a commission, which of course I would appreciate if you use my link. And if you want to buy PokerTracker, you can go through my link as well. And I've also got some free resources below, so go ahead and check those out if you are interested. Otherwise, take care, have a great day, and hopefully you make some money playing poker.